So I do apologise. Okay, I think it's gone a little bit plateau now with the number of attendees. So I just wanted to welcome you all. Thank you. My name is Charlene New. For those of you that don't know me, I am the MBA Admissions and Operations Manager at the business school. Today's session will be split in two. So I will in one moment hand you over to my colleagues, James Tibbett and Joe Oldhouse, who are from the Student Immigration Centre at the university, and they will run through a few slides with you, and they will also take questions at the end of their slide session. So if you do have any questions while they're presenting, then please feel free to put the questions in the Q&A box and not the chat box, and then we'll get round to them afterwards. Once the session has finished from my colleagues Joe and James, I will then take over with myself and my colleague Gisela Collins, who will be open for a Q&A, looking at kind of next steps and where you are in the process, and if you have any questions kind of from then on. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to welcome my colleague James Tibbett from the university, who will take you through the visa process for incoming students.
Okay, thanks very much, Charlene. Yeah, sorry again about our technical issues, we're having some trouble at this end. So Joe and I are actually just sharing one login at the moment because we had some problems with the other setup. So we'll switch headphones halfway through. So my name's James Tibbett. I'm the head of student immigration at Oxford. And then I'm joined by my colleague Joe Oldhouse, and Joe will do the second half of the presentation. And we'll go through about 9 slides, and then we'll do some questions at the end as well. Okay, so just to begin with, really, so just we're going to cover information about applying for your visa. We'll talk a bit about dependents, and then we'll also look at some of the options for working after studies as well. And then just to bear in mind, we are quite a small team. There's 3 visa advisors, and then 2 colleagues on the compliance side and myself. So in the summer, we do get very busy. There's about 4,000 new visa holders, and we have 7,500 visa holders on course. So we will try to reply to your emails as soon as we can. Often we can do that in 2 days, sometimes a little bit longer in the summer. And then if it's exceptionally urgent, we can reply the same day if we can, but just bear in mind the summer period does get very busy. So we'll move on, and we'll look at some of the aspects of applying for your student visa. So we'll look at the student route, which is the student visa sponsored by the university. And for that, you'll need your CAS, or your confirmation of acceptance for studies number. And that will have data about your course and then personal details about you as well. It will only be issued when you've met all your academic and financial conditions. And it's all done by email, so we can turn it around quite quickly. And you'll receive a draft CAS email, and that will have all your personal and course details. So do check your names right, start, end date, etc., passport numbers. And then the business school will submit that, we'll process it, and then you'll get that CAS number by email. And then you'll need to use that CAS number when you apply for the student visa. And on our website, you'll find a lot of FAQs. So some useful steps there about what happens if my passport's expiring soon, what do I do about dependents, questions about applying for the visa. And there's a comprehensive guide as well. And that takes you through all the steps of applying for your visa. So quite good to have a read through all of that. And then if you're still stuck, email us later on. You can apply for your student visa up to 6 months before the course start date if you're outside the UK, or 3 months before the course start date if you're in the UK on a student visa and you're extending for another student visa to come to Oxford. And then, as we mentioned, it does get very busy in the summer. September is a really peak time for visa applications. So sometimes those processing times slip at the visa centres. So do apply as early as you can and allow at least 1 month, but much earlier if you can do it earlier. Okay, the visa application fee, so you'll pay that in your local currency, and it'll be the equivalent of 363. And then the immigration health surcharge, that's to access the NHS services in the UK. So you'll get the same entitlement as a UK citizen, and you'll pay £470 per year, and then plus that 235 for part year amounts. So because your course is 12 months long, the Home Office will add on 4 months. So that will be a 16-month visa. So you'll pay that slightly higher amount of 705 and then translate it into your local currency. The financial requirements. So a number of you will be low risk and you won't need to submit the evidence for your financial requirements. But the Home Office can do spot checks and they might ask to see that evidence. It's fairly rare, but they do a few spot checks every year. So the requirements are that you can cover the fees and that amount for the living expenses. As I said, most of you will be low risk and not need to submit that evidence. If you're not a low risk nationality, you will need to submit that. And then some nationalities, dependent on where you're living now and your nationality, you might need to do a TB scan. So you can find information about that on the Home Office website. And there's also a link on our web pages in the guide as well. And as I mentioned before, there's a really comprehensive guide, takes you through all the steps. So good idea to refer to that as you're going through the visa application. You might be on another visa type that allows study. So we can let you enroll if you're on, for example, an ancestry visa, youth mobility visa, some other visa types. If you're not sure, check with us or Saeed. But also important to bear in mind that if you want to apply for the graduate route, that's the post-study work visa to stay on for 2 years and work. You need to be on a student visa to switch into that in the UK. So worth thinking about if you are interested in that later on. Okay, bit about your family members. So they may be able to come to the UK with you as your dependents. And there's a list there, so partner, married, civil partnerships. And there is some guidance on our website and then on Home Office documents about what qualifies a relationship and how long you've lived with someone as well. So do have a look at that. And then also any dependents or children under 18. There's a separate visa application, and they'll also pay the fee and the immigration health surcharge as well. And then a funding requirement for those. But again, if they're applying at the same time as you and you're low risk, then they shouldn't need to submit that evidence. Your dependents can work full-time in the UK and also study. So quite a bit of flexibility there. And then you might have seen in the news recently, the government's proposing to change the rules on that. We don't know when that might take effect, but we think it will be for applications made in 2024. So it won't affect students starting this autumn, but could affect future cohorts. And at the moment, they're proposing that only postgraduate research students, so that's DPhil, PhD, or Masters by Research students would be able to bring dependents. So postgraduate taught students wouldn't be able to bring dependents once that rule changes. And that will be sometime in 2024. Obviously, the university will express our concerns about the impact of that as well, but it won't affect anybody starting this autumn. Okay, and then after the visa is issued, so some students will have a vignette sticker in the passport, and that will be for 90 days. You can't ask to come to the UK more than 1 month before the start of your course. So there is a bit of flexibility there to settle in. And then slight difference for EU students in that your visa will be all online, so you won't get a sticker. and then you won't get the BRP card either. The BRP card is the biometric resident permit card, and that's basically your student visa. And as we mentioned earlier, that will be 12 months plus the extra 4 months they give to you. So 16 months. And the BRP card is a small credit card size document, and you'll collect that from the main post office in Oxford. You can also collect from another post office in the UK if you're traveling before, but our advice would be to choose the Oxford one as the most convenient one. Okay, and then you'll need that BRP card when you're traveling in and out of the UK. If you're currently in the UK on a student visa and you're extending your visa in the UK, then your visa will also be an electronic one. So the Home Office is gradually converting all these visas into an e-visa or an online status. But students applying from overseas, they'll still get this vignette sticker, and they'll still collect the BRP card from the post office. And then on your student visa, you can work 20 hours during term time, and then unlimited in vacations. And then being self-employed or engaging in business is not allowed either. As we mentioned earlier, you can also apply for a 2-year work visa. So that's to stay on and look for work. And Joe will talk about that later on. But then the conditions for that are that you've successfully finished. You must apply in the UK, need to have completed your course and have time left on your visa. So you have got those extra 4 months after the course end date. So you have got that time to get your results, which usually come out in November, and then apply for that graduate route visa if you do want to stay on and work. Quite flexible, as you don't need a job offer and there's no sponsor. And then you can also be self-employed on that graduate route visa. Okay, we're just going to switch over now, and then Joe's just going to go through a few more slides with you.
Right, we're going. Can someone tell me whether you can hear me or not? Because sorry,
Yes, we can, Joe.
right, have we got sound?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so thanks, James. So my name's Jo Aldhouse, and I'm a visa advisor at the university. So we advise by email, and it'll be me or my colleague Joy Zhang, who will be answering emails if you send us queries. So I'll give you our contact details later. Oh, the other thing to mention is I'm sure that Gisela will make these slides available to you after the presentation if you want them. So you can have the slides afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at your opportunities to stay on in the UK to work following completion of your MBA. So it's just a taster, because you'll be getting lots more information about this, and we do presentations during the year while you're here, and if we're lucky, say Business School will invite us to do a post-study work presentation just for you during the year. So that depends on them inviting us to do that. So James has already mentioned the graduate route visa for staying on to work after your studies, and this is the most straightforward option. So after successful completion of your MBA, James's side of the team reports that to the Home Office, and then you are good for applying for the graduate route visa, and you can use it for working in the UK, looking for work, being self-employed, or also starting up a small business. The rules are that you can't apply until after you've finished your course. It's only for 2 years. It's a time-limited visa, and you can't renew it, but you can move on to other visa types. And your dependents can join you on this visa, but only if they already have visas as your student dependents. So if you have dependents and they're not applying to join you straight away this autumn, do have a look at those potential rule changes, okay? because they might possibly, depending on how they're implemented, they might need to apply and get to the UK before next year. Now, the thing is, if they don't join you as student dependents, they can't move on to be with you as graduate route dependents. So potentially, if you went on to graduate route, your dependents wouldn't be able to join you unless they're already here. Previously, they could join you at any point in your course as long as they got here before your course ended, so that they could join you as student dependents. But now you need to watch out in case they're going to need to apply before January. So we will be updating our information, trying to keep everybody posted on the new rules for dependents. And also we've got a resource here. So on our website, we've got FAQs about the graduate route. So we tried to think of all the questions that you might have about graduate route and address them there. And if you have further questions about graduate route, you can email us at any time and we'll try and help you with those. Okay, so that's the graduate route visa. Now, another one we're going to look at is called the skilled worker visa. You may possibly have come across the old name for this because it used to be called Tier 2. Some employers still call it Tier 2, even though it hasn't been Tier 2 since 2021, I think. Now, this differs in a basic way from graduate route in that it is for a specific skilled job. So it's a particular job and you need the job offer to apply for it. There's a salary requirement, and the salary is going to depend on the job title, and you the Home Office have listed and categorized all the jobs and given them appropriate salaries. So it would be your employer's responsibility to check that. But if you want to have a look, you can find that information on the Home Office website. The employer needs to sponsor you for your visa application, and the employer themselves needs to be an approved UK employer. So they have to be on the register as an employer who can sponsor international workers. Okay, unlike graduate route, one advantage of the skilled worker visa is that it can lead in itself to settlement after a 5-year period. And I think there's an option for a shorter period in certain cases. So if you're interested in a permanent future in the UK, skilled worker can get you to eligibility for settlement after a number of years in this route. Your partner and children can apply as your dependents, even if they haven't been your student dependents, so they can apply to join you later if necessary. And here's a couple of links. These are Home Office information links. So on the Home Office website, there's quite comprehensive information about applying for the skilled worker visa and an applicant's guide as well. Okay, so that's skilled worker. So that's for a specific job with an approved employer. Now, I'm going to tell you about the very new innovator founder visa now. So this is going to be for if you've got a great, unique business idea that you're interested in setting up in the UK following completion of your study. Okay, so they're saying that your business idea must be new, innovative, and so there must be nothing else on the UK market which is doing what you're going to be doing, viable and scalable. So it has to have potential for growth, and the government is interested in your business being able to provide jobs in the UK as well. Have a look on the Home Office website for the overview of this visa route. Now, a key feature of this is you need to get an endorsement from an endorsing body for your business. So basically, you need to pitch your business idea to one of the 3 endorsing bodies. Now, I've said that there are 4 on this slide, but in fact, one is a government one, which is a kind of by invitation only one, and it's the other 3 that you can approach yourself. So have a look on the website and look at the websites of the endorsing bodies, because each one has got comprehensive information about what they're looking for, how to pitch your idea, what to do, what the costs are, and so on, and what support they're going to give you for setting up your visa. So this is a 3-year visa, and it can be renewed. And again, it can progress to permanent status in the UK if you're interested in that, and your partner and children could apply as your dependents. Okay, so that's Innovative Founder. Okay, so finally, I'll just tell you a bit about the visa advice and resources that you have available to you while you're doing your studies at Oxford and during your visa application process, obviously. Okay, so there's a couple of links to our information on our website. And the other thing to look at is the UK Home Office information. So these are all gov.uk web pages, and to find stuff, you can Google gov.uk UKVI, and then the name of the visa that you're interested in, so student route or graduate route or whatever. So we have got a page about your work permission while you're studying, where we've tried to cover all the points relevant to you as Oxford students. So that covers your work permission during your course. We've got information on the graduate route, as I mentioned, and we've tried to make that pretty comprehensive. Now, I'm also going to tell you about the UK Council for International Student Affairs, UKISA. Okay, so have a look at their website and bookmark their website. They are an organisation for international students in the UK. They have a very good information team, mostly trained lawyers, who are very skilled at keeping their information up to date and comprehensive. Have a look at their page for working after your studies as well, because they do cover all the options. We covered the main 3, but they go into the other ones available there. And then finally, our advice service. So we do ask if you can have a look at the online resources first, but if you have queries about your student visa application or work visa queries, you can email us on this address, student.immigration@admin.ox.ac.uk. Please give us your student number and your full name, because we can advise you more accurately and comprehensively if we can access your record and have a look at those details as well as what you're telling us in the email. Now, we do have quite a good turnaround rate. So we do try to respond within 2 working days, but things do get pretty busy over the summer. So do be patient. We will respond to you as quickly as possible. The other thing we can help you with is that we do have an account manager at UKVI, and there's a query service that we can use that you're not allowed to use yourself. So we can be intermediaries if your visa application is severely delayed or you run into some horrible problem or something. You can get in touch. We can make an information request for an update on your visa application. We can forward on documents that you think you should have submitted and didn't, and generally be a contact between you and the Home Office to sort out problems that you might have during your visa application. Problems aren't inevitable. Most applications go through quite smoothly, and Oxford has an incredibly low visa refusal rate. So in all probability, there'll be no problem with your visa application. But if there are any issues, please do get in touch. So I think that's all from us, and I'm going to try and have a look at the questions now that you've sent in, and let's have a look at addressing these. Okay, so I'm just going to work through them in order, I think. So James is coming round to have a look at them with me as well. Okay, so first question. My wife wants to join me at Oxford in the 3rd term of my MBA. Can my partner apply for the visa now? Okay, Now, your wife should be intending to stay with you all the time you're doing your MBA, and when she makes her visa application, she's going to need to indicate when she plans to come to the UK. However, I don't want to advise you to leave the application until next year because we don't know what the rules are going to do. So, yeah, I'm going to say I don't really know on this one. If she applies now, she should be intending to come with you in the first term, I think. But obviously she might come and then she might leave the UK for a bit and come back later. The visa won't actually expire. I'm sorry, that's rather a waffly answer. I'm wondering if I can ask you to actually email us with that query and I'll try and give you a clearer answer on that one. Okay, I wonder, James, can you plug in your headphones as well? Would that work?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, so Nadia, who's put in a question about English language, I'm going to ask James to answer this one.
Yes, so just on this, sorry about this, we're still having some technical problems, so we're just sharing one PC. Yeah, on the English language tests, so if you've met the admission requirements, then you don't need to submit anything with your visas. So we'll accept IELTS, TOEFL, being taught full-time in English, and then that will be confirmed on your CAS. So you don't need to submit anything with the visa application.
Okay, hi Sunil. Okay, so your question, we recently received news that the government may introduce new legislation that could potentially remove the post-study work visa offerings for dependents. This development raises concerns about how it will impact families of upcoming students. Okay, so what they've actually said for the graduate route visa, which is the post-study work visa, they're not going to make a change to that. But in practice, there is going to be a change because how the graduate route visa works is your family members can only apply if they're already here as your student dependents. Okay, and they're going to remove from January 2024. The plan is that they will remove the eligibility for family members to apply. So if they can't come as your student dependents, they can't carry on as your graduate route dependents. However, for you on your course, okay, for MBA starting 2023, if your dependents come with you and they can apply to come with you, if they get visas to come with you as your student dependents, they will be able to apply as your graduate route dependents. That's not going to change. Okay, so you might be the last cohort who can do that, but for you, your dependents can apply. But what I would say is keep it, if they're not coming with you immediately, if you were planning for them to come after the end of the year, please keep an eye on the information in case they have to apply before the end of this year. Okay, so the next question, could you elaborate on the financial and academic conditions that need to be met for the visa? I'm going to give that to James.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the academic conditions will be the conditions of your offer that you've completed your bachelor's or master's or whatever Saeed have assessed you on. And then you'll also have to do a financial declaration with the college. And that's that you can cover the fees and the living expenses. And you'll provide that evidence to the college. And then once those conditions have been met, Saeed will then start your draft CAS. And they'll send you a draft email. And then they'll make changes, submit it. And then my colleagues and I process the CAS numbers the same day. And if it's submitted before 4 o'clock, you'll get the CAS number at 6 o'clock. So it can be turned around quite quickly. So that answers the second question. And then as I mentioned in the slides, most of you will be low risk nationality. Have a look at our guide, and you won't need to submit further financial evidence with the visa application. But if there is a spot check, they might ask you to submit that document, so have it ready just in case. Okay. On the question about how long does it take to have a college place after paying a deposit, I think that's one for Charlene, or
Yes, I can take that one, James, later on. Yeah, thank you.
yeah. Okay, yeah, and then we'll we'll go back to Joe.
Okay. Right, so the question, if the new regulation comes into effect in 2024 and a family has already obtained a dependent student visa, is it possible for the dependent post-study work visa to be denied in 2025? Okay, so this is what I've already tried to say. If your family comes with you now, then they should be okay for graduate route because they're not going to change graduate route. So if they get here as student dependents, then they can transition into graduate route dependents. Okay, and it is only, so far as we know, it's only students who family members' rules are going to change. So the eligibility to be dependent of work visa holders is not going to change generally, so far as we know. So whatever work visa you get, your family can be your dependents on that work visa. Okay. Okay, so I am planning on arriving into the UK from Australia 1 month and 5 days before the course begins. Would that cause any problems? You can only get your student visa to start a maximum of 1 month before the course begins, as listed on your CAS, as your start date on your CAS. So if you wanted to come 1 month and 5 days, I think firstly we'd say don't do that. Just come 1 month before maximum. But if you did arrive before your student visa permission starts, you would be coming in as a visitor and you would need to go out again and come back after your student visa starts to activate that student visa. So you would have the expense at least of making that extra journey out and back into the UK. But if you can possibly arrange to arrive not more than 1 month before, that would probably be better. Okay, can you please repeat what exactly is a BRP card? What do we need to do to get that? What are its benefits? So your biometric residence permit card, this is a card with your visa status on it, basically. It's not an ID card. However, if you are what's called a visa national, so generally you'd need a visa to come to the UK, even as a visitor, you do need your BRP to go out and come back into the UK. So make sure you don't lose it and look after it. I don't think it has any intrinsic benefits as such. And we do advise don't use it as an ID card, but keep it somewhere very safe because they are a nuisance to replace if they go missing. Okay, EU nationals won't have a BRP card. If you apply in the UK, you might not have a BRP card. They are going to eventually be phased out, but they are still a feature for applicants this autumn. Yeah, I'm going to hand over to James for a bit.
Okay. Yeah, so just as an EU student, it's the same as non-EU. You do have to pay the visa application fee, 363, and then you do have to pay the health insurance as well. And then, as we mentioned, yours will be an online e-visa, so no vignette and no BRP as an EU student. And then the question about keeping the tuition fee in your account before submitting the financial declaration form. This is the financial declaration form for the college. So I think you'd probably have to look at the college financial declaration form. There should be some instructions on that, or Charlene can help you with that one. As we said, most of you will be low risk, so you won't need to submit anything else with the visa application. If there was a spot check, they tend to be quite unusual. You know, we only have less than 5 or 6 a year out of those 4,000 students. If there's a spot check, they would expect that money to be in there before you applied for the visa. Okay, and then I'll just do one more and then pass back to Joe. Is it possible to work part-time and study part-time post-graduation? So as we mentioned, you can work 20 hours during term time on your student visa, unlimited on the holidays. And then, as we mentioned, you can also apply for this graduate route to stay on and look for work. And then if you went on to a PhD, you'd have those same study conditions. But as we mentioned, those government rules might be changing in 2024. Okay. Yep, and I'll pass back to Joe.
Okay, can parents be considered dependents under the student visa and later under the graduate visa scheme? No, I'm afraid they can't. That would be impossible to bring them as dependents in that context. Much further along the line, once you've got permanent status in the UK, if you're going to do that, there is an option for bringing parents as dependents, but they're really strict criteria. You have to prove that they're completely financially dependent on you and basically can't support themselves in their home country. But as a student and on graduate route, no, they can't come as your dependents, I'm afraid. Okay. Sorry, which one? Okay, the college place question, Charlene will get back to you on that. Yusuf, I come from an entrepreneurship background and I'm excited about the prospect of potentially co-founding a startup during the course of the next year, along with some members of my MBA peer group. No, you can't do that because you can't engage in business while you hold a student visa. You can do the research and the background research and so on, but you can't make contracts or start trading or anything like that. Yeah, you're prohibited from business activity on a student visa, so you'd have to keep it at the planning stage until you went on to graduate route or innovative founder. Sorry about that. So use your MBA for the planning and research. Okay. Okay, so all the questions about college places and so on, I'm going to leave those to Charlene and Gisela. And also about financial declarations, I'm afraid. Is there any mandatory minimum period of stay in UK for BRP holders, student dependent? No, there isn't, I don't think, but they must intend to be planning to live with you in the UK once they get their visa. Okay, and if they're going to apply for graduate route with you, they do need to get their student dependent visa and get here to the UK before applying for graduate route. And as I said, there might be a danger to their ability to get a student dependent visa after January 2024 because we don't know how they're going to implement those new rules. Yep, James is going to talk about health insurance now.
Yeah, we mentioned this at the beginning of the slides about paying the health insurance surcharge. So that gives you the same entitlement as UK residents. So any hospital treatment operations will be covered. And then you'll just have to pay for medicine at the pharmacy, what we call a chemist. And that's £9 each time you collect medicine. If you have a regular prescription, you kind of pay a bit more and you'll collect those prescriptions on a regular basis. It doesn't cover the dentist. So you'd have to sign up to an NHS dentist, which is cheaper treatment. The private dentists are quite expensive. And then it also doesn't cover opticians. And then if you do have a serious pre-existing medical condition, just worth talking to your college doctor. So when you enroll and register at the college, they'll register you with a local doctor. So everybody's got their health information on file if they need to see a doctor. But in the UK, your visits to the hospital doctor are all free of charge, and treatment's free of charge as well. There is some more information on the Oxford Students page. If you click on the website Oxford Students and then New Students and then Healthcare, you'll see it on there. I'll just do a few more and then pass back to Joe. So if I get a job in the Middle East post MBA, would I still be applied to the graduate route, even though I might be staying there full time after MBA? So for the graduate route, you have to be on a student visa, and you have to apply in the UK, and you have to have your final results. So you can't apply overseas, and you would have to be here, have time left on your student visa, and do it after results. So your course finishes in September, and then I think results are usually out in November, December. Your visa will expire at the end of January. So you'd have to do that application after your results in November or December. And it has to be done in the UK. Okay. And then we'll skip down. There's some more questions about the college financial declaration. And then we'll skip down to the question about what do you mean by spot checks for high-risk countries? It's spot checks for low-risk countries. So if you're from a low-risk country, you don't need to submit the financial evidence with your visa application. They can do a spot check, and they might ask to see the evidence. As I mentioned, that's quite unusual. We only get probably around 5 out of about 4,000 a year. And they'll give you 10 days to submit that evidence. And if you're asked, you can contact us as well. Yeah, I'll just skip down to the health insurance one as well. So when does a period covered? So it does cover from your arrival date in the UK until your visa end date, which will be 12 months plus the 4 months. So it does include that 1 month before as well. It doesn't include travel insurance to the UK. So it begins the minute you arrive in the UK on your valid student visa. Okay, I'll pass back to Joe if there's any sort of final ones.
Okay, I'll try and do the rest. James has to go to another meeting now. Okay, now what's the channel to send the photo for the access card? I think that's something to do with Said Business School, so I'll leave that for Charlene and Gisela. Would you be able to share this presentation with us? Of course, I'll send it to Charlene, and then she can send it out to you. Okay.
Hi, Joe. I think the rest actually myself and Gisela can answer, because I think they're more related to us than specifically visa questions. So we can cover the remaining. So really all there is to say is we just want to thank you so much, yourself and James, for joining us today. I'm sure it's been beneficial for everyone that's in attendance, even for myself and Gisela. We always learn something new when you kind of share the time with us. So thank you very much, and we really appreciate the time that you've been able to share.
Oh, pleasure. And I hope everybody's visa journey goes really well, and looking forward to meeting you in the autumn. But get in touch if you get stuck with your visas or you need any further information. Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Bye then. Bye.
So everybody, if there are any other questions that you do have, then obviously Joe did share their email address, or you can obviously reach out to us and we can share the details with you again. But please feel free to reach out to them with any concerns that you may have. So so we've got very little time. There's been a lot more questions than usual. Usually myself and Gisela have about 30 minutes to go through all your questions. So While we only have a few minutes, we will try and answer as many of them as we can. So I think, Giza, I'll respond, which I think would cover quite a few of the questions that have come in. So there's questions along the lines of how long does it take to get our CAS number? How long does it take to have a college place after paying the deposit? And then talk about the financial declaration. So I will start with the deposit. So when you pay the deposit, your file is then sent for college consideration. Now, for those of you that are on the call, I've had a flick through some of the names. Some of you may have waited a week, and some of you I know may have waited 6 weeks. Some people are still waiting. So it really depends on the college. And it really depends, obviously, when your file is sent to a college, you may not be successful at your preferred college. So then your file will go into allocation. So it can take longer. But I can assure you that myself and the team, we do try and get you a decision as quickly as we can. But unfortunately, the college process is out of our hands. So we are literally bound by the time for how long the college take, really. It's really not down to us, but we do spend a lot of time pushing them and sending them emails. So hopefully you won't have to wait much longer. Now, once your file has been admitted to a college, if you're still waiting, then I would advise you, if you can, and if you haven't already, and that's to submit your financial declaration. The reason being is because once your college is confirmed, if your financial declaration is already in place, it will just move things on a little bit quicker. As the reason I say this is because you cannot receive your CAS until the conditions have been fulfilled. Now, the conditions for the school and the college are the same. So it's your deposit and your financial declaration. So I will correct James, though I do apologise. For the rest of the university, the colleges do collect the financial declaration, but for the SAI Business School, it's actually us that collect the financial declaration. So you would essentially send that to us, which a lot of you have already. We will process it, and then we will update the system, which then the college use in order to see if you've met that condition. Once they've confirmed that they're happy, then we're able to start your CAS, and it doesn't take that long. My colleague that's online with me at the moment, Giza, she works very hard in trying to submit the CAS as quickly as possible. And what will happen once she does that, you will receive a draft version of the CAS. Once you confirm with her that all the information, which is extremely important, all the information on that draft CAS is correct, then she can submit the CAS. So things can move quickly, but then obviously there are, circumstances where people are still waiting, for the college membership rather than the conditions to be fulfilled. So we are chasing, obviously, especially now we're on the 1st of June. The university usually allows us to get to the end of June. And if there are still people without a college place, then they sometimes allow us to submit the CAS regardless. However, that will not happen until the end of June. But between now and then, we will work fiercely to get decisions out to you as soon as possible. I think that covered quite a few. So some people another question, I submitted my financial declaration. How long does it take? Now, if you have a college and you have submitted your financial declaration, you've heard from us, we've confirmed it's okay, and you're wondering why you still haven't received your CAS. The main reason behind that is because we are literally then just waiting on the college to confirm that they are happy with the financial declaration form that we've agreed to. Now, it really depends on the college. Some colleges will just are happy, they will make you an unconditional offer. Others will wait and see whether we submit the financial declaration and we're happy. So then we have to wait for them to also confirm. So if you're at that point when you have a college, you've submitted your financial declaration, we've accepted it, but you still haven't got your CAS, that is the reason. But again, my team, I say it's not my team, but the team in general, again, do start reaching out to colleges as well to ask them what the delay is, if they can push forward. I know a lot of people had that kind of issue with Hertford College recently, and we reached out to Hertford, and then they have now made, the majority of people unconditional. So then we were able to do their CAS. So we do these checks. So please bear with us. We will push for quick turnarounds and decisions, as much as we can.
I'm just going to pick up that first one because I think that might need clarifying. So someone has asked, how much time do I need to have the tuition fee in my account before submitting the financial declaration form? We just need a most recent bank statement showing that you've got the funds there. I just wanted to clarify, in case you're wondering about, for the visa application, how long you've got to have the money sitting there, then that needs to be 28 days. So for the visa application, it's got to be in your account for a minimum of 28 days. For the financial declaration, you can literally say transfer it over a week before. We just need to see the current balance for the financial declaration. But for the visa, it needs to be 28 days.
Okay, we have another question. For those of you that have received an offer in stage 4 that you may not hear back from colleges for another 6 weeks, can you receive the CAS before? As I previously said, it is possible, but the university will not allow us to do that until the end of June. So in their eyes, you will still have enough time to get your visa and come after this point. So if you don't have a college confirmed by the end of June, then yes, we will start to push the university to allow us to provide you with a CAS in order to start your visa process. Okay, so people are asking what the channel is to send the photo for the access card. That is my colleague online, Gisela Collins. But if you don't have Gisela's details, then please just send your photo to the Oxford MBA inbox, and then it will get passed on to Gisela. Or if you have my details, then you're welcome to send them to me. In theory, you can send them to any member of the team, anyone that you've been in touch with, your advisor, for instance, send it on, and they will then obviously make their way to Gisela for further process. Okay, what else we got? So can the funds be held in mutual funds equity for the visa process, or does it have to be in a bank account?
I would check that with the visa team just to be on the safe side, just to make sure that you want to make sure you've got that right. They do have a guide that they mentioned on their pages about a step-by-step guide for applying for your visa and things to do before you apply for your visa. So if they haven't clarified it there, then just reach out to them and get them to clarify that for you.
Yes, because I think it can be different, Gisela, right? So what you have to submit for your visa and what you submit for the financial declaration, are 2 different things. So there's a question about the graduate route visa. I would again recommend that any kind of questions right now regarding the visa, that you do email the student immigration team, because they are best to advise with anything visa, really. We can answer kind of minimal questions, but they prefer that they answer them rather than us. So please feel free to email them directly. Right, we will have to stop because there is, I believe, another session, so we can't run over. I think there's one more question. I took a loan from a bank, so I need the funds for 28 days before I can even apply for my visa. Also, does the fact that I took a loan affect my CAS process? I got accepted into GTC and have updated them, but haven't heard back. If you're applying for a loan and you're waiting to submit the financial declaration, send it to one of us. We're happy to look through it. If the financial declaration is okay for us, we will then alert GTC, they will again see it on the system, and then it will be fine with them. So because it's a loan, most loans either come directly to the school or may come directly to you. So it depends really. But for your visa, right, that shouldn't be a problem. Many students do come to the UK with loans, whether it's student loan or personal loan, so that shouldn't be a problem. So maybe
you would just need an official loan letter for your visa application. But again, if you want to just clarify that with the visa team to feel comfortable, but usually you would apply with the official loan letter.
And again, like if it's to do with your financial declaration, you know, please talk to one of us, you know, send it on to myself or Gisela, and we can just have a look at it for you. Okay. Wonderful, great. Well, there are no more questions, and I've overrun slightly, but I just want to thank you all for attending. And if, like I said, if there is anything further, please email myself or Gisela, or preferably the Oxford MBA inbox. And if you have any further questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the sessions today, and hopefully we will see the majority, if not all, hopefully all, see you in September. It would be good to meet most of you in person. So thank you very much for attending. Bye-bye.